You are listening to the Shit You Can't Make Up podcast, a conversation with friends, hosted by Marisol Sanchez.
Hey, I think we should tell them we recorded this last night. I'm sure we're going to make references that aren't going to make sense. Or at least probably I am, because I've had a few glasses of wine this evening.
Oh, great. Well, you said yesterday when we recorded this whole podcast and then realized, the technical guy that you brought on screwed it up. But you said you have no short-term memory, so I think we're good.
Yeah, I have no short-term memory, and it's Wednesday, which is my kid-free night, which I love my children, but I also love my Wednesday nights. So
what are you doing spending it on a podcast then? Come on.
I enjoy doing this. I went out to dinner. I did yoga. I have a full life. No, this was fun. We did do a whole podcast last night. It was actually great. It was a fun podcast to do, and the topic was on my blog of can men and women be friends, which is funny because I put it on Instagram with the Harry Met Sally meme.
Right.
And while I was waiting for you, I was just looking at the comments, and there's basically 3 comments, and one is from a friend. I would consider him a friend, but he falls into that category of I'm more his wife's friend than him.
Is he the one that said, yes, you can be friends?
Yes, he said yes. And then there was the one guy said no, and immediately DM'd me and hit me up for when we're gonna see each other.
Nice. That's a subtle move there. I like that.
And then so it was funny because it's sort of the comments sort of fell right in line of the different categories I put men in my blog, which was yeah, I can be friends with you if I'm friends with your wife.
Right. I'm sure the guy that responded on your Instagram that yes, we can be friends, his wife was probably over his shoulder as he's typing that, right?
I actually I just did yoga. I did a yoga session with her this evening. So so I'm just saying you can be friends if but I guess the right question is can 2 single people be friends? No, I don't know. Even married people.
Well, now you're switching it up. That's not what you had talked about last night.
No, I know. I've evolved.
It's a miracle. Wow.
In 24 hours. No, I don't know. It's just I've been thinking about it. I've gotten more input on it from men. I actually talked to a few men today that had their opinion on it. So I've been enlightened a little bit. So a little bit.
Can I make a quick suggestion here, if
Sure.
I may? So because you wanted to talk to me about this, right? Because we're kind of friends.
Because we don't live in the same state. We've never met in person. You're married. I'm divorced.
Right.
And we're acquaintances on our way to friendship, I would say, because you're very nice. I mean, I spent a third of yesterday's podcast telling you how nice you were and how helpful you've been and everything.
Well,
so,
I think it would be good if maybe, if it's all right with you, I can kind of describe maybe how we met.
Oh, shit. We have to start from the beginning. I haven't even introduced you.
Oh, yeah.
See, this is the problem with start doing a second take on a podcast.
And take 2.
Take 2. Hi, everyone. That was probably the worst introduction I've ever done. So sorry. But if you felt like you just walked in the middle of a conversation, you kind of did because I have a guest, a special guest on this week's podcast, and we actually recorded one last night, and it was great.
Awesome.
It was great, and it was fun, and we had some technical difficulties, and it didn't record, so we're trying to do it again, and that's why you might feel like you just walked into a conversation. But the topic that we discussed last night was, I was wondering, just had some musings on my blog, if men and women can be friends, authentic friends, like legit friends, because I feel like sex gets in the way of um
Everything?
of everything. Did you just say everything?
I think. Well, you were pausing. I thought, well, maybe she doesn't know the right thing to say, so I just kind of threw out there everything.
I was thinking, but yeah, just sex it doesn't get in the way of everything, but it just gets in the way of an authentic relationship. So first let me introduce you. So this very special guest is Sean. He produced I think the last podcast I did with my daughter.
Yes.
And we met via social media. And you have your own podcast, and it's wait, I always say Dadson podcast.
Yes. All one word. Dadson.
I always want to make dads plural. I don't know.
And can I elaborate for a minute there on that? Is that all right?
Please.
So the way I think we became friends on Instagram, because I kind of launched my podcast on Instagram, even though we'd been doing it a while, and you had actually responded to one of my posts, and you indicated that you had listened to an episode or two. So I private messaged you or direct messaged you and said, hey, I want to listen to your podcast. What's a good one to start on? And do you remember what you said to me?
I do, because you just told me this again last night.
Well, I didn't know, because you said you have no short-term memory.
It's not that bad. But it was something like, no, don't listen. You're not my target market.
Yeah, you basically said, hey, thanks for messaging me, but you are not the person I am trying to reach with this podcast. And I took that I wasn't offended. I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to listen and I'm going to like it. And honestly, I did listen. I can see why you think I wouldn't be the target market, but I admired the way that you shared honest stories about yourself, and I thought it was very appealing.
Thank you. And then you were very helpful, because you have more experience at this than I do, and the people that listen to the podcast are probably very grateful that you're helping me with the audio, because that was a very common complaint about my old podcast. So, and you were just so kind. You were just really kind in helping me, and so I think we're having a friendship. And I write this blog, like, can men and women be friends? Because I feel that what I write in the blog, and we discussed a little bit last night, was, when I was in middle school, high school, college, up until the point I got married, I've always had male friends. And I loved it. I mean, I think I have that kind of sense of humor. I like how, this is going to sound awful, but I like how your brains work. They're kind of simple.
Do tell. Like, please lay down all the stereotypes now. Let's just get them all out.
Yeah, but I miss having those friendships, and I feel like I can't have those friendships now, because the recent ones that I've had like that always either end because we have sex, or because they or I start dating. And as soon as either party starts to date, unlike my female friends, you just, I can't keep a male friend.
So let me ask you, because you said you've always had male friends, right?
Up until I got married.
Right.
And my husband was my best friend, which is totally normal.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of part of being married, right? But I'm curious, when, like, middle school, high school, college, of your guy friends, how many of them did you try to have sex with? I'm just trying to see if there's a pattern here. That's all I'm going for.
Oh, I think that's called being busted. Yeah, that's funny. Let me think.
Busted meaning 100%? All of them?
How many? Okay, the first one I'm thinking of, I did, but not at the time we were friends. It was like later on. Actually, a couple of these happen later on. Does that make a difference in the pattern?
No, I mean, so like you were friends for a long time, and then you like lost track of each other, and then got back together and hooked up.
Kind of, yeah. Like, they got girlfriends or I got boyfriends or we just went in different ways in our life. And it was pre-social media, so you didn't have that constant connection with people. But yeah, and we didn't even have texting back in the day.
But
So,
wait. But for those ones that you kind of reconnected with and ended up having sex with, um, just putting that out there, was it easy to do because when you were friends with them earlier, you were attracted to them when they were younger?
the not all of them. No, not exclusively. Like one or two of them, I ended up liking them, but that was when I was much younger. And I think I just confused, it's a combination of hormones / confusing emotional connection for romantic connection.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
And that's what the whole point of the blog was not me really identifying my patterns about that, which is interesting. Thank you very much.
That's just
I'll
bonus.
I'll just have to make sure my kids don't listen to this one. Or family. Or friends.
This isn't Marisol talking right now. Her podcast has been hijacked.
But the point of what I miss and the reason I wanted to write about it was I do miss male friendship like that. Just it's a different vibe. It's a different connection. But that's what I'm wondering. Can you really have it? Because I always feel like sex is just,
So okay, I'll be honest with you. We had this conversation yesterday, not this exact same conversation, but this topic, and it kind of threw me off guard because you in one day say, "Hey, you want to record a podcast?" and then you send me the blog. I'm like, "Oh, I guess we're talking about sex." But I mean, because can you be friends with somebody who's attractive and not think about sex? I mean, like when you see somebody or you hang out with somebody and they're attractive, does your mind automatically drift to having sex? And if it does, I mean, is that unnatural? I was going to ask you, like, how many times do you think about sex a day?
This podcast has completely gone off the rails.
This is related to the topic, right?
God. Wait, what was the question? The original question was, can I be in a room with an attractive person and not think about it?
Yeah. I mean, like, let's say you meet somebody, I don't know, a coworker or something. A coworker starts at your office. I don't even know if you work at an office, so I'm making this up. Coworker starts at the Marisol podcast office, and he's attractive, and you become friends with him because you have commonalities because you work together. I mean, because he's attractive, is that an automatic that you're going to think about sex with him?
Well, it's not. If you're talking just physical attraction.
Yeah, we'll start with that. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, probably.
So what that really wasn't. I mean, so what I was getting to, or what I'm trying to say is, but I mean, is it unnatural to think about sex with an attractive person, but yet the fact that you're not going to act on it because you're friends means that you could be friends?
I agree with you. I agree with you up until the point of, for me, and this is my issue, which I think was the whole point of everything, is as soon as that moment happens, where I realize they've thought about it, or I realize I've thought about it, or if it's continual, or if it, then I don't feel like I can be authentic friends with the person unless I'm like completely honest about it. And you don't do that.
Well, okay, so you meet somebody, you become friends with them, and just like you're daydreaming one time and you drift off to thinking about having sex with that person. but you don't act on it. You know, let's say this person's in a relationship. You're never going to act on it, but you just had that kind of like passing thought. I mean, once that thought happens, that door is closed, no longer can be a friend?
No, I mean, no. But if I'm attracted to them, it's not a passing thought kind of deal.
Right. So you've kind of, when you say attractive, you mean you've kind of like opened the door to like, I wonder what this would be like if we got together.
It's not always. I feel it on the opposite end too. Like someone's attracted to me that I'm not attracted to them, but
This was, by the way, this was the best part of what came out of yesterday's podcast was you feeling the sex vibes, or how did you describe it? If I get the sex vibe from the guy, or if I'm emitting sex vibe, I don't know. It was the best thing ever.
I don't remember, but when the air changes, or you like you're making fun of me, but yeah, I don't know.
So how does the air change?
It gets more like dense. I feel sorry for you that you haven't experienced.
It's really dense from like the sexual tension between the two? Or is it less dense if only one person's emitting that vibe?
It's an energy. I don't know how to explain.
I think you should develop an app for that. Like a set vibe finder.
It's funny. Yeah, I don't know. It could all be in my head too. Or maybe I'm also very hyper aware of things.
So
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously know when you feel that way with somebody because they're your own feelings, so that obviously makes sense. But
and I'm a girl, and I know when a guy, finds you attractive
because
in their
the
presence.
air's dense.
We're gonna edit that out. That whole.
Oh no, we're not. No, but I mean, but
you've never you just go in a room and it's just like a tension,
like a intensity or like flirtation, an intense flirtation, maybe.
No, it's not. Sometimes no. Usually, I can't even talk like when I'm feeling it.
So I'm picturing Marisol in a room, blindfolded, and she can pick out the person that's thinking about having sex with her.
I bet you I probably could. That would be
You might have you might have like a sixth sense for this.
I don't know, or I could be totally full of shit. I had a friend who told me once, she's like, I don't think people, like, I was like, I said something along the lines of like, I think this, so, she's like, yeah, I don't think it's as much as you think it is. Like, I always think people want to have sex. Maybe I'm projecting.
Yeah, so how often do you think about sex during the day? Can I ask that?
Oh, no, a lot. But I'm 43. I'm like an 18-year-old boy.
Right. You're at your peak, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the original premise is, can guys and girls, or men and women, I should say, be friends without it leading to or flirting towards or steering towards eventually having sex?
I don't even know anymore.
Well, I say that because I will be honest with you. I was married in 1995. Now, my wife and I, when we first met, we both had boyfriends and girlfriends, and we were just hanging out as friends. But there was definitely, without a doubt, an attraction and that tension that you speak of. I mean, right from the get-go. So I don't think either one of us entered the friendship thinking, oh, we're just going to be platonic friends. I think we were both kind of, skirting on the edge until we both decided to abandon our other significant others and get together.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have male friends though, right? That
That's not
You don't want to have
anymore.
sex
Not
with?
really. Like I can call on, I'm sure, half a dozen guys who are great, and we'd have if I needed any help, they would be here in a heartbeat. But not that emotional connection kind of conversation, you know.
And it's because they're guys, and you think
No, it's because they have girlfriends or wives.
so they can't give all to a friendship with you because they're giving it all to their
Not
wife.
all. That's the only level of comfort they have to give that connection, that emotional connection to is their wife, which I understand, you know, and I respect, but it's, you know, sucks.
So like, because I have female friends. I mean, actually, I was thinking about that today because I was talking to her this evening, and we were talking about it was work related stuff to a degree, but then music and concerts and stuff, and it's strictly friendship. I mean, but
And is she attractive?
yeah, I mean, not like, hopefully she doesn't listen to this podcast, but I mean, she's not like drop dead gorgeous, but she's attractive. But I mean, I don't think of her that way. Don't get me wrong. I think she's attractive, but I don't think, I wonder what it would be like to have sex with her.
And but you talk like what, every week, every day?
I would say, because
But is it
we work
work?
together. We don't work together at the same agency, but we work together kind of in the community. So usually it's usually a conversation we have probably 2 or 3 times a week. Usually when we're driving home from work about something work related, and then it eventually evolves to, her husband recently passed away, so it may involve something with her kids or her house, or like I said, music or concerts or technology or whatever.
Well, that's awesome. I don't have that.
All right. So what about our friendship? We're friends, right? I mean, we're not like best buds. I mean, this is the second time I've actually talked to you.
Yeah, we are. I don't know if I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're not like, you're not going to call me up and go, "Oh my gosh, Sean, I had the worst day." But I mean, we could get to that point without it going towards the danger zone, if you will.
The dense air.
Yeah.
That's funny. I guess. I mean, that's why I wanted to have the podcast with you, because I was like, because it would be weirder to have this conversation if you were here, you know, in person. Don't you think this whole podcast would have been totally different?
Because we'd be looking at each other and it would be awkward, or
Yeah.
because of the topic, or because we hadn't really ever met before, and then you sit me down in front of a mic in front of you to talk about sex.
It's just all of the above.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be.
I think
awkward.
it was easier to have a conversation because I've never met you and you're far away. Does that make sense?
No. There's. I mean, first of all, we know each other through social media, so we barely know each other. Yeah, because there's a lack of, and I'm going to say this word not in the way that most people use it, but there's a lack of intimacy because we're separated by space and we're just, using the computers to talk.
Yeah. Exactly. But that's why I was like, when I wrote the blog, because I wrote the blog first, and I was actually going to do the podcast with my friend Beth, but then I thought about you, and I was like, you're perfect to have a conversation with, because you're safe on every level.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me I was the second choice to record?
No, you were the
make
perfect
a guy feel
choice.
special.
No, it was the perfect choice. It was the thoughtful choice because I wanted the guy's perspective.
Right.
I liked it better last night, not the night that you called me out for being.
What did I do?
For calling me out for, I don't know, incapable of being in a room with an attractive person.
I'm teasing you. Come on, I'm not. I'm just joking. But did you say, but it's true?
I was like, damn. Yeah.
So I just want to clarify for all your friends and family that are listening, you just called yourself out. I didn't call you out.
I know, but they already knew this about me or suspected it.
So your blog that you wrote, did you have somebody specific in mind? Like, were you thinking of, I don't know, any of your past boyfriends or any good stories we can get out of that?
Well, the first guy I referred to, he was the one, his best friend was my first boyfriend, and he's the one that, I was 15, he was 16, I was not ready to have sex, scared of my mom, like the whole, 15's way too young. Did not have sex with him, and he ended up sleeping with a mutual friend. We were all on the swim team, water polo team. So he slept with a mutual friend, got her pregnant. Their parents decided the best idea was for them to drop out, buy him a condo, and get married.
The collective parent trust said, you know what? The best things for these 16-year-olds are to drop out of school and live in a condo by themselves with their baby. That sounds terrible.
So I sort of lost my social circle, which, in high school can be kind of devastating because everything's just so much more sensitive, back in those days, especially about social circle. So that was kind of like a traumatic event for me, and I think it was traumatic for his best friend too, and he and I ended up becoming friends. And it wasn't sexual, it was just, we're just good friends, and we would laugh and enjoy each other's company. It was great, and there was that emotional connection. Eventually, I started liking him.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And I think he was more confused about that. And then we ended up sleeping together, but many years later.
Well, wait. Did you, when you were friends with them, brought together because your social circle kind of, closed or fell apart, were you attracted to him initially?
That's such a good question, but it's a weird question to answer because I think back in those days, I speak for myself. You don't know you don't really know what you're attracted to. You're kind of one big walking hormone. It's like, apparently nothing has changed in my life. But
I didn't say it. I'm not going to lie. I was thinking it, but I did not say it.
But I didn't initially like him that way, like others. Excuse me. He dated a best friend of one of my best friends. Excuse me. And another good friend of mine adored him. And I wasn't like that initially. Eventually I got like that. And that came from more of an emotional connection than a physical one.
Right.
Does that answer your question? Kind of too thoroughly, probably.
Well, what I was going to say was, do you think you became attracted to him because the more you got to know him, the more you liked him? Liked his personality and liked hanging out with him. And maybe that's part of the reason why it's hard for you to be friends with guys, because part of that attractiveness is obviously just getting to know them and like them and their personality.
Yeah, I feel like you're making a valid point throughout this whole podcast that this is all me.
No, I'm not trying, and I feel like I'm very much like in the social service field. I need to kind of get out of my head work here. But no, I'm not saying it's all on you. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Like, I'm incapable of being friends with guys. No, I hear what you're saying. Maybe. I don't know. It's, what the title of the blog is. Sex always gets in the way, I feel like.
I mean, the thoughts that you have of sex, right? Doesn't that happen like for everybody almost all the time anyway? Like, aren't we like preconditioned to think about that majority of not majority, but a lot of times during the day?
Yeah, but basically I'm saying I have a hard time. There's like the me, after I'm aware of it, I can't act like
You can't just
unless
turn
I
it off.
acknowledge it. What'd you say?
I said you're such an honest person, you feel like you have to go tell that person.
I appreciate how you worded that, and it could be construed that way, but it's more, it's less altruistic or nice. It's more like I'm incapable of not, you know what I mean? Like being authentic unless I'm share. I have no filter. Thus, you just have to listen to the podcast, read the blog to know that about me. I have no filter, so it's not like something I can. I'm just not good at. I don't know.
Do you
So
just go up to your guy friends and be like, you know what? I'm thinking about having sex with you.
I don't even have any guy friends. I have one guy friend, but it's not always just sex. It's not sex just with me. It's sort of like if they start having sex or having a girlfriend, I should say, they disappear. Like, and I get that. No one's girlfriend is going to want their partner to have an emotional connection with another woman. That makes me sad. I wish that, there was allowances for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, part of that might be like in a new relationship, there's maybe more insecurities and more jealousies. So in order to avoid that and secure the foundation of the relationship, guys and or girls may minimize the friendships that they have with the opposite sex. Maybe.
All right. Let me think about that a second. Can you repeat that?
No, probably not. No, I was going to say, for you were saying when guys get in a relationship, they tend to, not be friends with you anymore. And I said it's probably because in a new relationship, they are still trying to kind of secure the foundation that they have with that new person, and your friendship probably causes insecurity with the relationship.
Probably. Excuse me, I didn't mean to do that right before I answer. I just wish I wish that we would be open to the idea that you could be friends with someone, authentic friends, and even be like, balls out honest about stuff, and also not feel threatened. Like, I would never cause anyone harm. I would never make a move on a married man, destroy a family. I would never want to cause anyone pain. That's never something I wake up, desiring or wanting to do.
Right.
So it doesn't come from, you know what I mean? It's almost like I wish everyone could just be just a little more honest and less insecure.
Well, okay, so let's say let's say you have this friend and you feel you get that vibe from them both ways. I mean, well, the tense air, the thick air, the vibe. If you both acknowledge it and say, yeah, I thought about it. Oh yeah, I did too. They're being open, they're honest, but then can't you just move forward? Because like you said,
absolutely. But you can never even get to that part because as soon as he has a girlfriend, it's just over.
But what if he doesn't have a girlfriend?
I'm sure there's exceptions to the rules. I'm sure there's some, people in Vermont or, Connecticut who have
live on a lot of land with 20 people, and
this is maybe very unique to where I live or where I've come from, but that's the environment. Excuse me. I feel like I was socially conditioned to not be friends with a guy unless I'm dating him.
From your parents?
I don't know. No, everyone.
Yeah, I could see that.
After you get married, I did it too. Even if I had friends before the marriage that were men, you become friends with, you have couples friends or you have your female friends.
Exclusively?
It seems that's how it just seems to have shaken out. My husband didn't have I mean, yeah, I'm sure he had female friends, but he didn't have female friends that he would talk to regular. It's sort of.
Well, let me ask you this. How would you have felt if he had?
I would love to think that I would be fine with it. I don't know the me of, when I married him at 28. I can't say for sure how I would, excuse me, but the me of today, 43, I'd have no problem with it. Because now I would feel completely secure in myself. Like, if someone cheats on me or that's just okay. We're not meant to be. It's not, you know what I mean? I don't take things personally. It's not me. Other people's behaviors or actions aren't a reflection of me. That's them. I don't think I'm as insecure at 43 and where I'm at in my life today as I was when I was much younger. So,
well, and maybe that's part of it. I mean, now that, because I kind of feel that way too. I know when I was younger, I was probably more jealous than I am now. But maybe as we get older, we get more secure with ourselves, more comfortable with who we are. I mean, you referenced that in the blog. You love the 40-year-old self because you feel more confident in who you are and more self-aware. Maybe that's part of the issue. Maybe now is the time for you to have a strictly platonic male friend.
Sean, will you be my platonic male friend?
Aw, no, I'm sensing this thickness in the air. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, right? That's funny.
Yeah,
I can't believe I said that. I'm never going to live that down.
I think the podcast it didn't record, it was something about sending the sex vibe. I think now the new motto is there's something tense or there's something thick in the air. This friendship is over.
I am a writer,
But yes, I will be your platonic friend.
Thank you. Well, thank you for doing the podcast, and thank you for all your help with everything. I mean, you've just been incredibly kind and generous with your time and just helping me out with the audio and stuff. And I do enjoy your podcast. And share the name and where they can find you.
Oh, sure. You can find my podcast at Dadson. It's Dad and Son all put together, Dadson podcast. It's conversations I have with my son about things that I did when I was young versus what he does now. I had him listen to 80s music and give his opinion, or we just share silly stories and just have a good time.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. It inspired the one I did with my daughter last week, where she called me a Nazi.
That, by the way, that was the best ever. So can I, because, the last podcast, I kind of did a little sign off for you.
Yes.
Can I do that right now? With
Absolutely.
You live here?
Yeah.
All right. You have listened to Marisol's podcast. Make sure you check her out on Instagram. Look up Marisol Podcast. And make sure you check out our website, shityoucan'tmakeup.com. And tune in next week.
Thank you. Actually, I do have an announcement. The site's going to be down for a bit because I'm redesigning it. So, but it'll be up fairly quickly. So.
All right. Do not go to shityoucan'tmakeup.com right now because you can't. But next week, you'll be good.
Just follow me on Instagram, and I'll let you know when the site's back up. But yeah, it's going to be down soon, I think. So excited for that.
Very cool.
All right. Well, thank you again for doing this. Take 2.
Yeah. No problem. It was a good time.